Hello there, my name is Kuma, and yes, we're talking about CC again. But this time, I'm not here to criticize the naming or the mechanics, no. I'm here because clearly something has changed inside Hyperglyph when it comes to CC, and I want to talk about it. Because after Underdown, we don't know if we're getting another CC. Like, at all. CN is 6 months ahead as usual, and in these 6 months, there was no CC for them. You can even have a look at the list of events in the Chinese wiki, the Priestess wiki, which is very well maintained, and see that there was nothing about CC in the next 6 months since they had Underdown. And as you know, the time window between CC seasons has always been 3 months. So we've had double that and nothing. Even if they release another one after the current event ends, which is a new type of event by the way, Hyperglyph has been exploring new concepts and we'll talk a bit more about that. But even if that is the case, the seasons being spaced 6 months instead of 3 would already be enough of a reason to talk about this. So, if you ask me, and I will explain my thoughts in this video, CC is going down for the sake of better content being added, not in its place exactly, but in a more interactive way than the 3-month model. And this is what I will call CC and its variants, because they have existed in a 3-month time frame, so 3-month model. Because here's the thing, CC in its original form, at least the 12 original CCs that we had plus CC0 and CC Beta, they have always been considered the peak of Arknights gameplay by a large margin of the community. You wanna show off how cool you are? You come up with a crazy CC clear, that's what you do. But things have changed a little bit, and I don't think the new CC battle plan succeeded in achieving the same status. Of course, feel free to give your thoughts about this in the comments, but follow me for a bit here. I'll make this part brief, but we know that CC 2.0 was designed by a different team than the one responsible for the original CC. And they decided to call the mode CC again because they didn't have good feedback from the creation of Pinch Out and Desire of Strife, attempts at creating a replacement for the 3-month model. They revived CC after it being killed because they didn't know what to do. But the 3-month model was not the only thing in Arknights that received changes, not at all. The game is a new beast compared to what it was when CC was first created, and for a long time during its original lifespan as well. We got Triple S at some point, integrated strategies received massive changes, Reclamation Algorithm more recently received a permanent game mode which also has constant updates. Maybe you could slap Trials for Navigator in here as well. Some players feel really challenged by that game mode. Although that one is not permanent, so maybe it doesn't fit in the discussion today. But the story chapters even, they now have new design philosophies that in one way or another made them much harder than they used to be, even though Arknights has done a great job at staying away from the usual exit of just increasing enemy stats. We'll talk about that in detail another time, not today. But Arknights now has many ways in which players can challenge themselves. IS4 introduced different color stamps depending on which difficulty you beat the bosses. If you want to show how cool you are, you can go for them. And there are no extra rewards for doing so besides bragging rights, just like high-risk CC clears have always been. And something I honestly appreciate. IS5 will be much harder than IS4 was. Not to beat in low difficulty levels, everyone will have the same accessibility to rewards, but the challenge ceiling is increasing. Story chapters being harder give players with no desire to fight to their limits something they can play that feels difficult, but won't kill their enjoyment. You'll still have the story mode if you just want to get through, get a little bit of the rewards and just read the lore. They are not stopping you, they are just adding something else. And while Reclamation Algorithm and Triple S are not at all in the same level of difficulty, they are still challenges in their own way, and they allow for novel and exciting playstyles that you can't really find somewhere else inside Arknights. And very important here, they can be replayed for as much as you want. The time limits on RA and Triple S don't even compare to the time limits we have in CC. Feeling forced to play the 3-month model isn't really something I concern myself over, but many people do, and moving away from this could be great for general player enjoyment. You don't have to beat this stuff in 2 specific weeks anymore. You can now wait and challenge yourself when you feel like it, and the rewards will be there for you. What I'm trying to say is that Arknights has evolved to the point where the challenges might not need to be in the 3-month model. You don't need a pedestal for the players to step on anymore, because the game is giving more and more opportunities for the same players and others to show how cool they are in many other different ways. And these new ways won't even take away the high level gameplay that some people enjoy of hunting for records, because records with low ops and whatnot can still exist in these other game modes. Now, there is another topic I want to touch when it comes to CC and these other challenges, and I think it's another positive point in moving away from the 3-month model. One of the biggest problems I always had with this model, and please listen to my argument first, is the over-reliance players have with guides to beat it. Because to some extent, these players are correct. They've been put in an awkward situation where they don't want to play, but they want the rewards. And even if Risqueitinho has always been considered not a big deal, it clearly is a big deal when everywhere you look, there's a bunch of players copying guides like it's the most natural thing in the world. But some of these players have simply given up on trying. Because why would they try? They have an answer ready to be copied right there on their YouTube feed. A lot of skilled players don't even want to attempt a challenge, simply because they don't even need to think about doing so, it just doesn't cross their minds. Of course, I'm not against guides. I think they are an important part of gaming culture in general, and they have existed for as long as video games have existed. But guides is not the topic of the video and I won't focus on this today. For now, take my words as having access to guides is fine, but over-relying on them is not. Copying every single action on a guide just because you didn't even think about doing it yourself, that's not okay. So let me talk about SSS and IS specifically. Because there is no way to copy a guide 100% like you can with a CC guide. You can't reproduce the motions one-to-one. And I think that is a good thing for the sake of increasing the skill of the community as a whole, while not killing their ability to get rewards. You can still make guides for these game modes. You can select and choose what are the operators that make them easy to beat. You can explain how stages work and leave the player with a great understanding of how to win. You just can't tell them how to do every deployment and every skill activation, because there will be variations and the player will have to adapt on every attempt. This is how guide works in other games. You go see a Dark Souls guide, they can't tell you how to click every button, because the boss will do different things on every attempt. They can tell you how to make the fight easier, but you still have to beat the thing yourself, and it doesn't need to be only Dark Souls, it can be many other games. And with IS specifically, going the route of making very hard challenges on high difficulty, on high ascension, I think Hypergriff might be looking at things and considering moving away from the 3-month model. That's why I think that we didn't see CC again for 6 months. They tried to copy what CC was, while failing to carry the weight that it had in the past, because it was the only real challenge that players had. They tried to change the mode to look new and more exciting, to the detriment of player choice. And now, they clearly don't know what to do with it. Because of this 6-month gap, we can see that they are lost. I personally would like to see Arknights moving away from the 3-month model, and I think we have a bright future this way. I think there's a lot more to see here. They can create very difficult optional challenges, not only IS, but in RA as well. Maybe even add something to SSS that is only bragging rights, just like high risk CC and high ascension stamps in IS are. The game has a lot of potential, and I think Hypergriff feels hindered by CC today. But you know what is not hindered by CC? The mystery enemy. I don't know if you guys are cheating or you simply forgot, because nobody got the answer from last video 100% right. I will still give credits to everyone who said R11 Assault Power Armor, because that is correct. But these stats are also from the Sarkaz Bone Guard Torturer, which nobody said. Isn't it impressive how the same stats can be in such different enemies? The armor isn't even the red version, and the Sarkaz is. There really is much more to enemies in Arknights than their stats. But what about a boss for next video? Can you tell who this is in the comments? Come back next time to see the answer. But to close things off, I of course don't know if Hyperglyph will actually kill CC for good, but to some extent they regret their choices, otherwise we wouldn't go 6 months without it. You can tell me what you think about this whole situation in the comments, I would love to see some different perspectives on this. Will you miss CC in the next 6 months? Do you think our current model is weird? What do you think about the idea of having other ways for players to challenge themselves which are not CC? And don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed our talk. I hope everyone has a very nice day. Peace out.